and then show it off.
Fantastic. Wow. Great.
Welcome, Dado. Thank you very much for coming. You wrote this fantastic book. It came out a couple of months ago. And when I was reading it, I really enjoyed the case studies you had from all different sectors and size of companies. What were some of the common similarities?
That's a good question, and first of all, thanks for having me, Meeten. It's an honor to join you here on the vlog. I would say that the main challenge that most companies have today is really reinvent themselves for the future. A lot of people are talking about digital transformation, and what we've seen in the past, I would say 5 years, is that it's hard for companies, especially bigger ones, to really turn their ships. So I would say the real value of corporate venturing and working with the outside world, so with startups, scale-ups, and basically outside partners, is really that you can go faster. And I think that's the main advantage and the main thing that companies are looking for right now if they want to work with startups and scale-ups and if they want to dive into corporate venturing. So the need for speed, the need for entrepreneurship, and the need for, I would say, less processes and less hierarchy is the common, I would say, ground where companies look for in terms of corporate venturing.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a navy taking over a pirate ship, right?
It's a bit like that, but then of course in an ideal situation, the Navy really works with the pirates and let the pirates be pirates, because I think that's it's a good point that you raise. It's a misconception that the Navy always thinks we are the better ones and the pirates have to adapt to our model. But I think the real value in corporate venturing is not just in investing, but really working together with these pirates without integrating them into your big mothership. So let them rule on their freedom. But of course also try to scale them and help them to benefit, I would say, from the scale that the bigger Navy has or the bigger mothership has, but really keep them separate. I think that's really the end goal of corporate venturing. It's not to incorporate the companies, but let them, I would say, be next together. So have the speedboat next to the mothership and have the same North Star vision where you're heading for, but don't try to bring the pirates on the mothership, because otherwise it becomes very difficult.
So it's like an and model, not a or model.
No, indeed. I fully agree. It's and there's, by the way, value in both. So I don't think the Navy is bad. I don't think the pirates are bad. I think both have their benefits, but also their faults. And I think it's really combining strengths of the both, where both parties can actually benefit.
Within Lifaria, we're looking at traditional sectors also. Within lifestyle, we're looking at energy and mobility, where you've got large corporates with large footprint and who are in effect motherships, Navy motherships, right? How can they corporate venture?
Well, it's a good question. I would say corporate venturing is broader than just startups. If you think about, for example, a fashion company, you could either look for in-store technology or you could look for 3D printing and making clothes. But you could also spot local brands or local young companies, like young designers. I think that's also an interesting way to look at corporate venturing. So it doesn't have to be per se a technology-driven company. The idea of corporate venturing is to look for small speedboats with entrepreneurial people inside who either have a great technology idea or a great business idea. So I think in a fashion and lifestyle environment, it could be super interesting to look for people who come with another angle in the lifestyle or another angle in the fashion or beauty cycle, and not just per se technology.
Duval Union Consulting has had fantastic experience with accelerators. What were your learnings? How is that strategy going forward?
So we've helped a big media company in Belgium called Roularta Media Group, and we also help a company in Dubai called the Shaloub Group, which is focused on fashion, fashion retail and beauty. I would say our main learnings is that the return of corporate venturing is not just monetary driven. One of the biggest returns we've seen is really culture. So if you expose people from the mothership, from the Navy, to these pirates on their speedboats, you really see that the culture is rubbing off on the bigger ship, and I think that's a really big learning that we had, and especially the people that were involved. It's also about skills. So you see that these people have different skill sets, operate in different models, have different cultures, and that's really a big ROI of corporate venturing. So it's not just money for money. I think the Navy can bring more than just the money, but the outtake is also much broader. And I would say the biggest outtake I've seen is really culture and mindset change.
Okay, so probably a lot of corporates took out a lot of bureaucracy after getting in touch with startups or scale-ups.
Yeah, of course. It's being exposed to innovation creates a kind of flywheel that creates passion to bring back to the mothership, which in the end might be a bigger return than just the financials that you might get out of it.
Energy, positive energy.
Positive energy, really, and that's for me really the whole idea of corporate venturing.
Okay.
So it's not just a money playground; it's really a culture and skill set playground. And as you say, energy and passion that comes out of it.
Fantastic. The pirate fell down. So Dado, this is a fantastic book. The analogy you have with the pirate ship is one of the reasons we have a pirate ship out here.
Great.
What's coming next?
That's a good question. So we did a book in 2014 on the topic of digital transformation. 2018 was this book with my co-author Omar Mohout. Really about the speedboats and how the Navy can work together with these pirates. And the thing we're thinking about now is rewire. So what we see is that companies need to work on three angles. We call it the brain, the body, and the heart.
Okay.
The brain being you need a real strategy and a North Star vision, which we see a lot of companies lack. So they just start building or working with technology without a real North Star. But you also need the body, and the body for us, it's about the skill set. So what are the new people that you need inside your organization to really pull it off? And then the last part, something that I really see missing in a lot of companies, is the heart. The heart is about culture, the DNA, the purpose of the organization. And what we believe is that companies that want to become future-proof need those three things. So they need a future-proof brain, future-proof body, and a future-proof heart. And maybe the last thing, since we were both at Supernova last week in Antwerp, we heard Seth Godin speak, and he had something really incredible called the salto mortale. So he said companies in the end need to take the jump without seeing the end result. So it's a kind of blind jump that you need to take. And so the fourth element, next to the brain, body, and the heart, for me is the guts. So do you have the guts to actually move forward and to really make a difference in this new world? So that will be probably the topic of our new book.
Yeah. About that Seth Godin talk, what really struck for me was he had that image of Icarus, and we all know he fell down because he flew too high. But he said, I don't know if you remember it, the main problem is not flying too high, but we fly too low. And 100%. When we fly too low, the wax gets wet from the mist of the clouds. And don't fly too low. You got to go higher.
I agree. It's such a great insight. Yeah. And his call for action was we need to fly higher. And in entrepreneurship, a lot of people talk about think bigger, be bolder. And I think that's for entrepreneurs really right, but also for companies these days. There's so many great companies in Belgium, the Benelux, and Europe. And I think it's time for us to make a difference and to fly higher and to take that advice of Seth Godin by heart.
Yeah. Okay, so to flying higher, Dado. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really cool. It reminds me of my childhood, right?
There you go. There you go.
So I assume this one then goes here.
Yep. And then show it off.
Fantastic. Wow. Great.